Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is disturb. Let's take a moment to look at some of the definitions or the ways that we use this verb. The first way you might hear disturb used is to mean to interfere with the normal arrangement or functioning of someone or something. To help us understand this first definition, I want you to kind of picture yourself maybe reading in the library. Maybe you're studying, it's very quiet, and then all of a sudden there's a lot of noise, right? And the noise might make it difficult for you to focus on what you're reading or what you're studying. It's interfering. So we could use this verb disturb to describe what's happening. The noise is disturbing your studying. A second way the verb disturb gets used is to mean to cause someone to feel anxious. So anxious can be a difficult word, so you might think of worry here, kind of a nervous feeling like something bad is about to happen. Now, a third way you'll hear the verb disturb used is to mean to interrupt the sleep, relaxation, or the privacy of someone. So it's kind of common to hear the phrase disturb your sleep or to disturb someone's sleep. And I've got some examples of this a little bit later in the video. You should know that disturb is a regular verb. To make the progressive form of this verb, all I need to do is add ing to form disturbing. The past tense and participle forms of this verb can be made by just adding ed. Now our base verb, disturb, ends in a voiced sound. B sounds are voice sounds. And this means that the ed ending is just going to make a D sound. I'm not going to add an extra syllable as I say it. So the past tense and participle forms should sound like this. Disturbed, disturbed. Okay. You'll be happy to know we don't have any additional phrasal verbs that we need to study today. So let's review a couple verb tenses with our verb of the day. Today we're going to practice the simple past tense and the present perfect. Let's start with the simple past tense. We use this verb tense to talk about a completed action that occurred at some known point in the past. Okay? And the nice thing about the simple past tense is that our structure to our sentences, it's going to stay the same no matter what the subject is. So in the affirmative, I'll have my subject, and then I'm going to have the ed form of my verb. You can see that in the example. The storm disturbed my sleep last night. Right? So it might be another way to say it woke me up or it kept me up. I wasn't able to sleep, maybe because there was a lot of thunder, maybe there was hail, right? Creating a lot of noise. Okay. Now let's talk about making negative simple past tense sentences. To do this, we start with our subject. We use did not or the contraction didn't, and then the base verb. So notice we're not using the ed form here in the negative. Let's take a look at another example sentence. The children didn't disturb anything inside the house. Sometimes as people play or children play, others come in, right? Things might get knocked off a table or maybe a mess is made. All of those actions could sort of be grouped together as disturbing, right? So it's interrupting that normal functioning. Finally, let's talk about making a yes or no question in the simple past tense. To do this, I start with did, then I have my subject, and then the base verb. So again, notice no ed here in my yes or no question. I'm only adding ed in the affirmative. Okay? An example of this. Did he disturb your studies? Now, let's move on and talk about the present perfect. We use this verb tense in a couple different ways. Sometimes it's to describe an action that started in the past and continues into the present. But we can also use it to describe a completed action that occurred at some unknown point in the past. When I'm making present perfect sentences, I'm going to need two parts to my verb. Okay? I'm going to use a present form of have, and then I'm going to use the participle form of the verb. Okay? So, because I'm using the present form of have, I need to pay attention to my subject. So, my subject is I, you, we, or they. I'm going to use have and then my participle. But if my subject is he, she, or it, I'll use has and then the participle. You can see this in my example. The illness has disturbed her everyday activities. So here we might think of, again, kind of interrupting or interfering with things this person might have been able to do kind of each day. If I want to make a negative present perfect sentence, again, I'm going to pay attention to my subject and use have or has, followed by not, and then the participle. You might also hear the contractions haven't, and then the participle, or hasn't, and the participle. Here's another example sentence. The rabbits haven't disturbed our garden this summer. Okay? So here might mean they're not eating any of our vegetables or eating the leaves and causing harm to the vegetables that are growing there. Finally, let's talk about making a yes or no question in the present perfect. To do this, I start with have or has, whichever form matches my subject, which comes next. Then I use the participle form of the verb. Here's my last example. Has the excessive heat disturbed your plans? Okay. This is a huge problem around the globe. It has been incredibly hot in many parts of the world during this summer, and for some people it's interfered or it's interrupted what they had planned to do, many outdoor activities. Now let's take a moment to look at some words that are related to our verb disturb. And the first word we'll discuss is the noun disturbance. This simply talks about that interruption or the interference of some sort of settled or peaceful condition. An example of this might be, the race will cause a disturbance to traffic in the area. Okay? Sometimes this happens with various events where I live right now, there's a really big bike ride going on. And so in many communities, people just aren't able to drive on certain roads because there are so many cyclists out there. So what would be normal, kind of normal traffic, is not normal here. I'll also mention that you might encounter this word disturbance in connection to crime reports. You might hear there was a disturbance at this particular location. So sometimes that word is a little vague in that case. We don't know. Maybe there was some sort of fight. Perhaps there was an incident with weapons of some kind. Might not know. But again, think of interrupting a peaceful sort of state. The next two words that I want to talk about are the adjectives disturbing and disturbed. And this happens with a number of adjectives in English, where we have one adjective that has ing, one that has ed, and I've had students over the years always tell me it's very confusing to know which one to use. So something that I hope will help many of you is whenever we have an adjective with ing, we're describing something that causes the particular feeling. So the adjective disturbing means that we are causing anxiety or worry. An example of this might be, there have been disturbing reports of more young athletes collapsing. Okay? So hearing this story, right, or becoming aware of this might make someone think, oh my goodness, I'm worried. Why is this happening? So it's causing the feeling, this report or this information. Now, disturbed, right? And whenever we have an adjective with that ed ending, means that someone has the feeling. Okay, so the adjective disturb means having had a normal pattern or function disrupted, or it might mean that someone has or is suffering some kind of emotional and or mental problems. So again, they might have that anxiety, they have the worry. Okay? An example of this might be, researchers are studying a new treatment for people with disturbed sleep. Right? So in this case, the people here have sleep that is disrupted or interrupted. Okay? I hope that discussion there helps, not only using these two adjectives, but others in the future. Let me leave you with one more word. It's the adverb disturbingly. You can see I've added that suffix ly, very commonly an adverb in English. So disturbingly means in a way that's going to cause anxiety, worry, or unease. An example of this: it has been disturbingly quiet for too long. So here, disturbingly is describing an adjective. That's one of many functions of adverbs, right? Adverbs can describe verbs, but they can also describe other adjectives and adverbs. And that's what's happening here. So this might be a parent thinking, wait a second, I haven't heard the kids playing, I haven't heard them talking. I'm starting to feel worried. What's going on? Are they okay? Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.